Okay, continuing coverage of CAWorld. Jeffrey Powers with Geekazine. We're here with David Hodgson.
Hey, Jeff.
How you doing?
All right.
And you are the vice president of.
I'm the SVP of Product Management and Strategy for the Mainframe.
Okay. And we're going to talk about Mainframe, which is my favorite subject in the whole wide world.
Exciting stuff, Jeff. It's hot and it's exciting.
Last time I had to deal with a mainframe, we didn't have cloud. We didn't have all, web was just starting to really touch on with the mainframe and getting it up there, and it was just basic searches. But so much has happened in the last few years that really bring mainframe in, especially in a architecture that's kind of trying to push mainframe out, and mainframe just wants to push itself back in.
That's right. The mainframe is not going to die. It's always going to be here till another 10 years and more. Everything you can do on the distributed platform, Jeff, you can do on the mainframe now. Yeah. So we run Linux on the mainframe. You can write Java and run it on ZOS, the old traditional mainframe operating system. And we have, Java programmers. A lot of our programmers now are that's all they write. And all of our new products tend to be written in C or Java, just like you would on the distributed platform.
All right. So now you guys announced a thing called Chorus, right?
Yeah, Chorus is actually it's been around for a couple of years now. It's really the centerpiece, the flagship product of our mainframe modernization strategy. And that's the impetus for that is the aging workforce, and really making the mainframe ready to be managed by today's graduates as they come out. So they expect to use things like the iPad, the browser, and a look and feel that they're used to, and that's what Chorus provides.
So tell me, what functionality does Chorus cover for the mobile devices?
Sure. So what Chorus is about really is also recognizing the fact that as we manage the mainframe more as part of the enterprise, and as we bring in a new workforce, it'd be really cool if we could do more with less too. So rather than having the traditional roles of storage management, performance management, and database management, what you can do with Chorus is actually mix all those disciplines together. So what we're about is integrating our old back-end products, surfacing those functions in a new way in Chorus. So it's not just a sort of UI on the products, but we're actually sort of taking the functions and blending them in new ways, new interaction models that people expect today. And so you can redefine the management roles. At the moment, what we're covering it as a discipline at a time. So we started with database administration and the database management functions. We've added security and storage management. And now what's in beta and soon to go GA is a whole area of infrastructure management, focusing mainly on performance aspects of infrastructure management, but gives you visibility into infrastructure. And the real power is, as we add disciplines, it becomes so exponentially more valuable because you can mix and match things, and you can blend roles, and you can sort of mix data from database and storage and see it together and combine it together. So it's hugely powerful.
So what does that mean for the IT administrator that has to incorporate all this together?
Sure. I mean, what it means is that they can basically solve problems that they see much more quickly. They don't, it breaks down some of those barriers between silos, and it actually gives you more ability to see problems arising proactively. You might see a database problem manifest in storage or CPU utilization first, and it's just easier to see that. So it tends to move you towards more proactive management than reactive.
And are there apps that actually help you realize that, okay, there's a problem here, or we got to fix this here?
The way Chorus is delivered is you get it as sort of functions within disciplines, and you can actually drag them from your module library, and they just are like apps. Actually, you use the word apps, it's sort of like an app, and so you can design your own workspace and fill it with the apps that will enable you to focus on either the areas or the systems that you're interested in.
Wow,
it's very cool. It actually looks cooler than a lot of real distributed products, and I can guarantee that if somebody saw Chorus and didn't know they were interfacing with a mainframe, they would have no idea it was a mainframe. It's that different.
That is crazy. It reminds me, I don't know if you ever saw this, but there was a video a long time ago, a guy actually frying an egg on top of a mainframe because it was so hot and it was being used a lot and stuff like that. And I always, whenever I hear mainframe, I remember that video, and it's amazing how we've kept our old technologies and updated them all at the same time.
It is, people have been saying since the 1980s or the 1990s that the mainframe is dead and it's a dinosaur, and it just isn't. The comparison with a dinosaur is interesting because in evolutionary terms, if things adapt, they survive. Dinosaurs didn't adapt; they didn't survive. But the mainframe, thanks to IBM, more than CA at this point, IBM's gone and invested in that platform, and as they've invested and brought out new features and come out with different models that are at different price points for different people, we're seeing all sorts of things happening. So we're seeing new customers to the mainframe. We're seeing Linux-only mainframes. The new emerging economies are actually buying mainframes and bringing in similar systems that the traditional banks and people use. Okay. And then, of course, things like Linux on the mainframe and Java. And it's just adapting all the time, so it will never die.
Let's talk about workload automation. How does that play into everything?
Sure. It really speaks to the core of the role of the mainframe in the broader enterprise, I think, Jeff. And the mainframe, I guess, back in the 60s, the mainframe truly was an island. Mainframe was IT. It was all done on the mainframe. But as it's evolved, it's a very different picture. And the role of the mainframe really now is mainly a data server, a transaction processor. And the apps might be over here on the distributed, but they're connected back to the mainframe. And so you need to manage the mainframe as part of the overall enterprise. You need to manage it end to end. And specifically, one area of that is workload automation. Now, workload automation has evolved. Originally, it just meant controlling the batch processes that happened on the mainframe. Okay. Now, it's talking about online systems that are active 24/7, that are distributed across the enterprise. Maybe it also means something happening in the cloud. So again, it's this sort of much more dynamic view of what businesses are doing with their compute power, and really, they're sort of boundaryless. It's sometimes we use the word cloud computing, and that means a lot of different things to people. But I think, in summary, the enterprises that CA does business with are always going to have on-premise pieces to their services, on-premise data, on-premises services, and as they move things to the cloud, they leverage that. They'll have a hybrid cloud. That means they have a workload on all platforms and all manner of platforms. And so you need a solution, an automation solution that can manage those sort of dynamic workloads and bring them all together. And that's what our product set does. It will allow you to handle the workloads on the mainframe in a traditional way, but also event-driven events from maybe maybe you've got an e-commerce site in the cloud and somebody orders something there. Okay. And then what that has to, it checks the inventory level to fill the order. And it decides, oh, well, we don't have the inventory, we need to talk back. And so an event comes in, talks to the mainframe where the production control system is running, and that kicks off a workload job to sort of go back to the factory and get something actually manufactured to fulfill the order, go through the order fulfillment process and complete the transaction. So it's that sort of end-to-end dynamic business service that we're automating and managing,
and keeping it all up and running. And so that's the important thing, because if it's not running, it's not making money.
That's right.
So, is there a website that we can go to?
Sure, it would just be ca.com, Jeff, and within that there's a section for mainframe, and then under mainframe you'll see all the products, but I'd focus people on Chorus, and probably AppLogic is very interesting for our Linux on System Z solutions too.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I learned a little bit about mainframe. Not my strong suit on computers, but I learned a little bit about Chorus and learned a little bit more about how the mainframe is not going the way of the dodo.
It is not.
And that is the important thing.
To learn more about it, Jeff. It's here to stay and runs the economy of the world.
Well, we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go.
Yeah, sure. It'll be great.
All right, there we go. Well, we got a lot. Thank you very much. We got a lot more video over at Geekazine.com. You can check it out there, or the YouTube channel over at youtube.com/Geekazine.